My girlfriend and her mother rode with my mom and me to the airport in Chicago to see me off to the war. We left early in the morning, but I did not know when I would catch a flight out to Seattle, where I would continue on to Fort Lewis. I was flying military standby, which meant the airline would put me on the first flight when there was a seat available. Back then, there were not as many full-capacity flights, so I got a seat relatively quickly and was ready to go. The airplane from Chicago arrived at Seattle-Tacoma Airport early in the afternoon on September 6, 1969. The weather was clear and sunny. The temperature was around 70 degrees. It was a beautiful late summer day in Seattle. I found an elegant restaurant overlooking Puget Sound and watched ferries passing in the brilliant blue waters while I ate dinner. The huge ferries, with their decks filled with cars and people, moving through the blue waters, traveling between the mainland and offshore islands, creating white wakes at the stern, making a sharp contrast in the brilliant sunshine of the late afternoon. The view was magnificent and helped calm my nerves about being AWOL for one day. My orders were to report on September 5th, 1969, but that was my girlfriend's birthday, and it didn't seem right to leave on her birthday. I was worried, not knowing what to expect when I reported in at Fort Lewis on September 6th. I had always prided myself on being a good soldier and had never been absent without leave before. The meal, the view, and the time alone to think helped tremendously to settle my nervousness. After dinner, I didn't think any more about my dilemma. I caught a shuttle bus that ran from the airport to Fort Lewis in the early evening, arriving after 6 p.m. Check-in turned out better than I expected for being absent without leave for one day. First thing, I found out my MOS, or Military Occupational Specialty, which was infantry, was on hold until further notice, a plus for me. Then the sergeant at the check-in desk mentioned I was a day late according to my orders, but did not dwell on it very long. He seemed to be more interested in getting me over to Supply to get my issue of jungle fatigues, which was the standard uniform for all transits shipping out to Vietnam. A small bus took us to Supply to get the fatigues and turn in our Class A uniforms. They told us at Supply we were restricted to the area around the transit barracks. We found out that was one of the controls they used to keep their eyes on the transits, making sure they made all formations and worked the details they were assigned. They did not want any transits going off post into Seattle or not paying attention to the flight status board and miss going overseas. What they did not tell us, but we found out later, that the jungle fatigues were authorized to wear at any post facility or movie house, including the main post. Back at check-in, the desk sergeant assigned me to a barracks and told me where I could get on the bus that would take me there. While waiting for the bus, I met the 5 guys I would spend the next 6 days with and take advantage of the Army for the first time since being inducted. One of them, a corporal who had come through Fort Lewis before on his way to Korea, seemed to know the routine. He was a nice guy, and the 5 of us bonded instantly.